Many people might assume that there aren't many video games around featuring cowboys, barring an obvious mention, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Several great titles make the most of a Wild West setting, and it's a shame that the vast majority of them never make it to the big leagues. This shouldn't take away from the games that did justice to the Western genre, with some of these titles being hailed as incredible video game experiences that fans should definitely check out. What's going on, everyone? Geoffrey here with Game Rant. In today's video, let's take a look at 10 top-notch games that feature a Wild West/cowboy theme. Number 10, West of Loathing. A turn-based RPG that takes players on a comedic adventure in the Wild West. West of Loathing's strengths are many and make it clear why this game has become such an underground hit. It's not the deepest game by any stretch of the imagination, but that does nothing to take away from the mindless joy players can enjoy with this one. The simple stick figures and hilarious writing make West of Loathing way more memorable than anyone could have ever imagined. Number 9, Evil West. Surprisingly enough, there were 2 games released in 2022 that used the background of the Wild West to tell a riveting tale and were named similarly too. While Weird West, more on that later, ended up being more enjoyable and memorable for the majority of players, another title that players still enjoyed despite the combat being slightly unbalanced was Evil West. The game is certainly not deep or thought-provoking in any way, but it doesn't need to be. Evil West is just a fun, lighthearted romp where players utilize a wealth of weapons to wallop their enemies to Kingdom Come. Oh, and well, there's lots of vampires, so that's pretty awesome. The best part is that this game can also be enjoyed in co-op, making for a great game to enjoy with friends. Number 8, Red Steel 2. The Wii is certainly one of the most successful consoles of all time, but there's no denying that this system was meant to appeal to a more casual audience. This made it a great hub for party games and imaginative platformers, but mature action games were always going to struggle on this platform. A great example of this is Mad World, a stylistic action game that should have been a huge success but ended up being a commercial disappointment. This was the fate that awaited Red Steel 2 as well. The game utilized the Wii's motion controls in a pretty intriguing way, and people who did check out this game for themselves loved how visceral and satisfying the combat was. Unfortunately, the game's incredible set pieces and great setting didn't boost sales in the slightest, making it one of the best games on the Wii that was criminally overlooked by the masses. Number 7, Weird West. I told you we'd get onto this one. True to its name, Weird West is easily one of the oddest games on this list that shouldn't work given the sheer number of gameplay systems it messes around with. Players control multiple characters, but somehow the game feels like an immersive sim once players start interacting with the world and realize just how logically its elements actually react to each other. While the game should be chastised for repeating environments over and over, there's no denying that Weird West is a great title that fans of unique indie RPGs should check out. The writing is bizarre yet enjoyable, and the Western influence gives the game a unique charm of its own that will certainly engross players to no end. Number 6, Red Dead Revolver. While it failed to make anywhere near as big an impression as either of its 2 sequels, Red Dead Revolver was still a pretty solid game when it was released for the PS2 and Xbox back in May of 2004. Sadly, it hasn't aged all that well, though there's still enjoyment to be found for those who like cowboys and Western movies. More than anything, Red Dead Revolver provides a unique and interesting window into the origins of one of gaming's biggest franchises. These humble beginnings would eventually lead to true greatness, and exploring them is a must for anybody who considers themselves a fan of Rockstar's Red Dead series. Number 5, Darkwatch Curse of the West. Darkwatch Curse of the West is a glorious mashup of elements that are trying so hard to find mass appeal that it's a little heartbreaking it wasn't able to spawn a long franchise of weird titles. The shooter mixes the Western genre with gothic horror and traces of steampunk as it tells the story of Jericho Cross, a vampire cowboy who's looking to wipe out a larger evil. Darkwatch leads to a very different take on the Western genre, and it's something that deserves another chance. Number 4, Gun. Before games like Red Dead Redemption came along and essentially perfected the Western genre, there were games like Gun that were attempting the same thing, but a generation earlier. Gun is very ambitious for its time, and it puts players in a sprawling open world that's full of outlaws and bandits who are eager to eliminate anyone who gives them a dirty look. Gun excels with its extensive side missions and how it fleshes out this world. While its heights have since been surpassed, certainly, it was formative back on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2. Number 3, Desperados III. The Desperados series of games on the PC are a worthy inclusion because they're set back during the late 1800s, when the West was at its most ruthless, and they utilized the strategy genre of games to look at this old-time corruption. Desperados 3 has players on the hunt for bandits, but there's a varied team of help that's provided to track down these criminals in various settings. It may be slower and less graphically advanced than other games on this list, but it builds the tension of a robbery or heist as effectively as anything else. Number 2, Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Not all of the Call of Juarez titles are set back in the days of the Wild West, but the series has gradually learned that it created some of its best work in that time period. Call of Juarez Gunslinger features Silas Greaves, a bounty hunter who's at the end of his rope and progressively frustrated with this derelict community. Call of Juarez Gunslinger also provides a duel mode, which is a fantastic addition that allows multiplayer mayhem to invade the premise. It's not a perfect title, but it features a tortured anti-hero at the center of it all and a great Wild West setting. Number 1, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2's inclusion at the top spot shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone. Its predecessor was already a masterpiece, and even Xbox's Red Dead Revolver, as mentioned before, is a highly polished take on the genre for its time. But the sequel improves upon everything and creates an even more satisfying experience. The open world of Red Dead Redemption 2 is the new standard to strive for, and whether players are stopping bandits or just leisurely tending to horses or kicking back at a saloon, the game ensures that it's as detailed and enjoyable as possible. And there we have it, everyone, 10 fantastic Wild West inspired games to play when you get the chance. Thanks for checking out this video from Game Rant. Have a truly wonderful and happy day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.